Hello and welcome to Colin Bunyan's cookery videos. This is the 7th in the series, or the reboot version I should say. We are of course talking about my infamous cranberry bread. 1 ounce of fresh yeast. Fresh yeast works so much better, okay? In fact, I'm going to bring this up to the camera. That's what fresh yeast looks like. It's like a grey, almost like a light clay block. Now I like to give the yeast a teaspoon of sugar. This isn't to sweeten the bread or anything like that. This is just to give the yeast something to feed. I'm going to pour in, well this is about 450, I'm going to say about half of this, so about 200ml of water. About 35 degrees centigrade, 18 ounce of bread flour. Now it's on grams, so 18 times 28, 285, 160, take 136, so 505 grams, and then we'll add some more in from there. So 1,179 is the target. Some fool out there is going to say, why am I not on countdown? Right, take the mixture off the scales and start to mix now. First you're thinking, oh my god, it's going to be too dry, then it's going to be too wet. In this case, way too dry, I need to add a bit more water, so that's fine. Really, when you're making bread, it should be about a feel, it shouldn't be strict format, you know, it shouldn't be, oh it's got to be this, you know, this weight and this, it's just going to be done by feel. Now, it's still a bit dry, I might have to add the rest of that in and hope that that's enough water. That seems to be about right. It's pulling away from the sides. Don't know how well you can see that. That is the texture of some pretty good bread. Now I'm using bread flour. All-purpose will work as well, but bread flour is preferred, because after all we are making bread. And now what I'm going to do is put some flour onto the side, and I'm going to take all this mixture and I'm going to start to knead it for a few minutes so it's nice and smooth. And all the patches that have got a bit too much flour in, and those that don't have enough, okay. I mean, I can smell the yeast from here, so it's definitely operating. I don't know if you can see that. That is what you're looking at. A very good textured ball of dough I can pick up like that. Okay? Now, I need to put this into a clean bowl. I'm going to put in a couple of drops of vegetable oil, just a couple of drops, just so it doesn't stick. Clean towel, and that goes into the oven. The oven's off, but the oven's a draft-free place at a warm temperature-ish. After all, it's winter in England, so it's so cold. The only place colder is when Prince Andrew goes into Pizza Express in Woking. So that needs to rise for 2 hours in the oven. Okay, the oven is turned off. Remember that, otherwise you'll end up with an awkward fire issue. What I'm now going to do is I'm now going to make the cranberry sauce, because it needs to be made and then cooled completely before we put it into the bread. So, half a cup of water. Roll the lime before you split it in half, you get more juice that way. Juice of a whole lime. A whole pack of cranberries. And again, fresh cranberries. Do not use this with dried, it does not work. Okay? Tartness. You are going to need a fair amount of sugar on this one, so don't say I didn't warn you. A whole half cup of caster sugar. Half of that, so a quarter cup for those who are keeping up with the arithmetic, of either light or, I'm going to be really controversial. I'm going to add dark brown sugar. Okay. And now for the spices, and this is where we are going to go absolutely mental. Some vanilla, ginger, nutmeg, 1 whole cinnamon stick, cloves. Now this is where you've got to be careful. 2 or 3, because they come in bits for this one, star anise, medium heat. And they've got look at all the water boiling out and bubbling. Let that bubble away, let that bubble away. If there's any whole berries that haven't broke, just give them a smash with your spatula at this point, and reduce it down by about 5 minutes of cooking time. Okay, all the water is in there goes. You don't want to get rid of it all, but you want to get rid of a fair chunk of it. So now we're just reducing and reducing and reducing. You've got to keep stirring now. And this is, if ever there was a time, you've got to keep stirring, because you don't want the sugar at the bottom of the pan to burn, and there's a fair amount here. So, and right about there, that's about done. Okay, now I don't know how well you can tell because of the steam, but that is what you're looking at texture wise. Okay, it's thick. That needs to cool for at least an hour. Okay, it'll thicken up even more, and you end up being able to, because the water gets reduced, you end up being able to get the spices out. So it works, trust me. And now the water's reduced, all I need to do is take out the cinnamon stick and the 3 star anise. Yeah, that is what the sauce looks like. It's beautifully thick. I mean, if you don't want to put that in bread, you do not have to. That can just go straight away. I mean, look at that. If I were to do that, the pot is clean. Right, lightly flour the surface. You don't want to have too much in there. That has been in the that's been in the oven for 2 hours. I'm going to zoom in. That's what it looks like. Beautiful. Sprinkle a couple of flour. Right. And then what we need to do, knock the air out and roll it. Palette knife, and I'm going to split it in half lengthwise. Okay, right, that is what we're looking at. We're looking at a ridiculously long thing, so long I can't actually get it in shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus in onto the centre. This is just an example. Scrape the cranberry sauce. By the way, that's what you should be able to do with the sauce. Should be very little, if anything, on the surface of the pan. Okay, and just spatulate it out along the centre of the dough. Okay, all the way across. Now for the part, this is tricky. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you, this is tricky. You take the dough and you fold it over. Okay, got to make sure it's all covered over. Do not tear the dough. Okay, pizza tray or any other large flat tray. Curl the parchment paper down so it doesn't roll up. Okay, then taking the dough from this end that hasn't got as much cranberry sauce in, you need to spiral the dough. It's now ready for another proof. Tea towel, 30 minutes. Again in a warm spot so it rises. There we are, it's had 20 minutes of proof in a little less time than normal, and it's just about doubled in size. Okay, that is ready for baking. So now to prep the oven. Right, first up, tray in the bottom of the oven full of water. That will help achieve the nice crust. That's on the bottom shelf. Gas mark 7. Get that up to temperature and then bung that in, and it'll be 25 minutes, and then I'll show you what it's like when it comes out the oven. Have a look at that. sounds hollow. That means it's cooked. Now cranberry sauce, well, very little has leached out. Very, very little, so it doesn't burn over the surface. That's the one thing I was worried about when I did this. There we have it. The bread's cooled down for about 4 hours or so. Hollow sound. Look at that. That has got to be one of the most pleasing sights in the whole of bread world. Bread's light. You get that subtle sharpness. And sweetness from the cranberries. That is to die. That is beautiful. That's really, really good. Oh man. I'm going to finish this off, and then I'll see you next time. So, catch you later.